How long should a film be? Of course, I can't give you the exact time, but I can give you some really useful tips that will help you make informed decisions on how long your film should be. My name is Anders Jorgensen, and I'm a concept developer, scriptwriter, director of photography, director and editor at Feber Film. And welcome to this series on how to create successful video projects. At the beginning of video projects, normally my clients will have some idea of how long they want something to be. But it's really the wrong question to ask. What you should be asking is, why am I making this film and what should it achieve? What do I need to change? So if you want to change some behavior, you want people to call you, well then the film should be long enough for those people to actually pick up the phone and call you. And that could be, 20 seconds or it could be an hour. It really depends on what you want to achieve. Another way of looking at it is to see film production as a tool, You create a tool to influence, to get people to think this or do that. And then that's what should determine the length of your project. But of course, there's more to the length than just that. Of course, you should make films that are customized to the platform that you're going to show them on. For instance, Facebook is generally short, YouTube can be longer, and also length is an issue of structure and pacing and story. For instance, if you've seen Schindler's List, it's like, 3.5 hours or something. And when I watched it, it didn't feel long, but I've seen a lot of films that are like an hour and a half, and they feel at least 10 minutes too long. So how can that be? How can something which is 3.5 hours be not long, and something which is an hour and a half be long? Well, it's a question of structure, story, pacing, because the perception of time is subjective. So let me give you an example. You got Schindler's List, which is 3 hours and 17 minutes long. But when you watched it, it didn't feel long. It was exciting, it was gripping. But I've seen plenty of films which are an hour and a half, which feels at least 10 minutes too long. So the natural conclusion is that it's not a question of length, it's a question of structure and story. Of course, the different platforms have different patterns of consumption. So for instance, Facebook, you would generally have shorter videos than for YouTube, for instance, where people are more inclined to watch longer videos. However, the danger is to be too hung up on the number of views on your film. So if you look at the statistics, the amount of viewers that will drop off in the first few seconds, the curves are always like this, they fall off really fast. So then you have to ask yourself, do I want the short-term viewers, the viewers that only watch 5-10 seconds? Or do I want the far less viewers which watch it till the end? And my argument is always that normally the people who watch it all the way to the end are much more valuable than the ones that dropped off after 10 seconds. So I usually go for quality viewers in terms of a lot of viewers which don't watch very much. That depends on your project, on what you're trying to achieve, of course. One way to try to maximize this is to make sure that you have your key message right up front. So even though you just watched 5 seconds, there's still something there for you. And bear in mind that Facebook registers 3 seconds as a view, which is very short. And YouTube is not much better with about 5 seconds for it to count as a view. I'll give you another example. I've watched camera reviews on Facebook that lasted 45 minutes. So if your content is interesting, people will spend the time and watch the whole video. And if they're not interested, make it short and make it really visually interesting, have a good story in there, and then maybe you have a chance. Another important factor to consider when finding out how long something should be, again, is knowing exactly what the film is supposed to achieve. If you have like a traditional sales funnel, is your film just going to make people aware of you? Is it going to make the viewers aware of you and understand your product and make the purchase decision, which is a long stretch to ask of a film, one film, to do all that. But if it's going to do all that, it probably should be a bit longer than 10, 20 seconds. So sort of knowing what and how much your film is supposed to do is helpful. Another good tip, which is when I get scripts and they might be 3 pages long, and the client has this idea that this film is going to be 2 minutes, and I go like, okay, well you got 5 interviews there, and you're going to give those the people who are in the interviews, they need at least 15 seconds to make a point that has any value. And then I might read the script out loud and I time it. And then I suddenly realize, well, excuse me, but this script is going to be like 10 minutes and you wanted the film for just 2. And often they're like, bummer, But then you have the argument to do the cuts you need. And also to make sure that you don't make content that won't make it to the film, because that would be a waste of your time and your resources. When you're in the editing suite and you're there cutting, making things shorter and more effective, the thing I always say is that if it can go, it has to go. It's sometimes really hard if it's like this thing that you really like, but if it can go, it should go. And once you've made that emotionally difficult decision to cut something out, you never look back. You never later on go say, I wish I included that interview, or I wish I had that shot in there, That's just the way it is. So I hope you got something useful out of this, and please subscribe and like and all that. So if you have any thoughts on this issue, please comment, like, subscribe, all that, and I'll see you next time.